in Ireland, everybody's always talking about Mayo and him running the Abbey Theatre and all those things. But he lived, for the greatest part of his young life in particular, in London. Developed and honed his art in London more than ever. And that lovely line from Lake Oliveridge Free, "On the pavement's grey," was a line referencing London that that inspired him to do that. And
it was in London he met Maud Gonne.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Maud,
that was a tempestuous relationship.
A tempestuous relationship.
Didn't quite work out,
And that one that revolved a little bit around the Theosophical Society and the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn.
Yeah, well, I made a film with the late, great Niall McDevitt, our great poet, called The Battle of Blythe Road, because Yeats used to go to an Isis temple on Blythe Road, not a stone's throw from here, and they used to do oddball things, and Madame Blavatsky and all sorts of characters. But he got into a big spat with Alistair Crowley, of all people, and had to lock him out of the building. But Niall loved Yeats, and I'm going to play a little clip from that film where Niall, in the restaurant where they used to meet, I can't remember the name, it's the same name as Yeats's wife. It's a little cafe on Blythe Road, but he read Yeats's wonderful poem that is about magic in a way, called the Magi.
I'm here at 36 Blythe Road, where Yeats studied on the first floor ritual magic for 10 years, from 1890 to the year 1900. It's one of the great Yeats sites in the world, in London. And I'm going to read a poem that he wrote as a tribute to the magicians he was working with. These are people like Florence Farr, the actress, W.H. Horton, painter, MacGregor Mathers, and all these other characters who came in and out of this Isis temple upstairs. The poem is called The Magi. Now as at old times I can see in the mind's eye, in their stiff painted clothes, the pale unsatisfied ones appear and disappear in the blue depth of the sky, with all their ancient faces like rain-beaten stones, and all their helms of silver hovering side by side, and all their eyes still fixed, hoping to find once more, being by Calvary's turbulence unsatisfied, the uncontrollable mystery on the bestial floor.
So that was Niall reading The Magi, which was one of Yeats's great poems, and Niall, as you know, greatly missed last night. We had a great evening to Niall in the South Bank with various poets came out to make a tribute to him, and his light keeps burning. He keeps increasing. We had him in Dublin last year for Bloomsday. I brought over a couple of poets, and his last book, London Nation, which he left, is a treasure. But I think what for me it means is, and maybe to say that poetry in Ireland is in essence much more a part of daily life than, dare I say, it is in the UK and lots of parts of Europe. It's kind of it's in our blood, and we grow up, whether you're rich, poor, whatever, farmers. Poetry is in the atmosphere. It's there. It's read at Christmas. I don't know why that is. I know we have a man here that's going to tell us the answer to that, maybe.
Yeah, we're talking about appreciating Yeats, which is the open mic poetry night here on March the 6th. And one of the stars of the poetry night here at the ICC is John Hurley. Welcome, John, to the show.
Thank you.
Now, John, you're a great poet yourself. You obviously know Yeats very well.
Well, my concern at the moment is the revisionism that's prevalent at this point in time with regards to Yeats. We're all aware that he had a hostility towards democracy, but he prophesied also that the centre would not hold in politics and things would fall apart. This would be a breeding ground for fascism. But however, unfortunately, he got labelled as a fascist himself because he made comments on it.
He did. He made some comments, but he did pull back. Unlike Ezra Pound, he did kind of say, I messed up. I got it wrong. I'm pulling back.
Yes, it was, I think spin doctors were, well, I suppose they've always been there, but... But
your poetry, you're a great poet yourself, and your poetry reminds me more of Patrick Kavanagh. I think you're more of a Kavanagh, a man of the earth.
Indeed.
And I think I can't remember where you're from. Is it
from a village in West Cork?
West Cork, that's right. Yeah. They all say West Cork. They don't like the people in East Cork, obviously, for whatever reason. But there you go. West Cork is the much more wilder part of the Cork terrain.
But I believe that Yeats, I mean, one of the things that we all remember from Yeats was during the rebellion, he said, a new and terrible beauty was born.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think he captured the essence of the time. He was well aware that poetry and music are physics of the soul. And he was also, I suppose, in earlier days, he would have probably been one of the poets that were in the clan system. Because in ancient history, you had a long tradition of hereditary poets passed down to their children. Now, when the clan system diminished, that was the death knell of this type of poetry. And it moved on to what we knew as the Shanaki,
that's right,
who was welcome all over in every place.
Like a traveling poet.
He was a storyteller, and he was usually he was able to take us by the hand with all the artistry of the born storyteller. He was also, and I remember probably the last of the Shanakis, a tall, gaunt man that was fluent in both languages. And also blessed with a retentive memory. And he always, his work was to do with peace. And if you don't mind, I'll read something on that.
And is what you're going to read tie into the Shanaki notion of peace? And
well, it is, I believe it. I believe it to be the, what's triggered it off actually in the last couple of days is this horrible situation we've got in the Middle East. So I've tried to put this into a few words.
Does it have a title, John?
It's called Peace.
Love it.
Peace, wow.
How long must we wait for the dove of peace to visit their troubled land, to tell each race to end war and chaos, and let tribes walk hand in hand? Let our leaders all gain wisdom, and all peacemakers be blessed. Please, no spurred and booted soldiers, no more people dispossessed. Peace has some golden precepts. We must all admit mistakes. Help us recognize the false prophets' lies for all our children's sake. Let us love and diffuse all hatreds, like parched land receiving water. Forget being judgmental, teach us to be gentle, and avoid this senseless slaughter. Our time here is a fleeting shadow. Let's leave it better than we found. Forget about the past and let the ceasefire last. Plant roses where barricades surround. Break down walls with all their slogans. Realize they're just an eyesore. Halt the deathly dance. Just give peace a chance, and who knows, it could last forevermore.
Oh, that's beautiful, John.
Hey, is that recent?
Yeah.
And when you write, do you write in the kitchen? Do you write repan? What do you do? Do you meditate on what?
Well, I'm very concerned about the fact that we've learned nothing from the past.
We have.
Well,
we know it's there.
We seem to have the inability to live at peace with each other.
Yeah. Well, I think what's happening in the Middle East, we know that feeling here from Northern Ireland, which is at peace. So we have to be optimistic.
Yes, yeah. I hope you're right.
And I think
Okay.
the poets are so important right now. They're the messengers for the world. The poets and the songwriters.
Yes.
They're so important.
They are. And they're comedians.
In a time like
but
this.
come here, you're going to read another poem, are you?
Yes.
What tell us about?
This is poems and not bombs.
Love it.
We need poetry, love and music as an antidote to strife. Rise up, you threatened masses. Tell your leaders, get a life. A poem brings hope and healing, helps a man to find his soul. Think of what we could achieve and ascend from this black hole. Even things mundane and drab, from verse will get a sheen. Think of all those working scribes. They could make all deserts green. Untapped talents bloom alone, some treated with derision. They desire to find an outlet for their genius and their vision. A poetry wave that will bring calm to international relations, lead to Damascene conversions, bring balm to warlike nations. So put your trust in poems, not bombs, and the Brotherhood of Man. Extend the hand of friendship. Let's try, we must, we can.
Hey, Mr. Yates.
Thank you, John. So, John...
Do you have one more hanging around?
That would be on...
Huh?
This is on a lighter vein, actually.
Oh, good.
This
This is his encore. Does everybody agree that John gets an encore? Yeah. Okay.
This is just on spring. This is very new. It's this morning's actually.
Oh, great, fresh off the press.
This morning I feel like Renaissance man, convinced that I'm still young. No longer half dead, I leap out of bed, and I know that spring has sprung. Though winter was cruel, there is a renewal, and squirrels climb trees for fun. My cat tries to crawl up the ivy-clad wall, extends his claws and basks in the sun. Some chattering magpies have landed. They look for grubs in the shuddering leaves. My dog arches his back as if he's under attack. I think he knows those magpies are thieves. The lawn is a glossy green colour. The edges are sharp, clear and bright. Nurturing seems to have paid off, and nature sees everything right. A camellia bush grabs my attention. With such an astounding display, white flowers in a lovely green setting, it's a pity it has to decay. The magnolia drops blossoms like teardrops. This year it has peaked all too soon. Some blackbirds try to console it as they sing it a long cheerful tune. Dew on the grass has now vanished. The sky changes colour to blue. Daffodils bowing and waving. Some rooks dipped their wings as they flew. The sun is now warming the planet. The shadows have all disappeared. Small bedding plants show their colour, and the morning mist is now cleared.
Ooh.
Oh, fantastic.
John Hurley, he's the ICC poet in residence in my mind. And that's a beautiful poem, John. Thank you so much. And just to say out there in the world, I've now recorded several times on this show with John, and I've got at least 8, 9, 10, 12, 14 poems. And I think we should publish a collection of John's poems. They have never been published. He came late in the day to poetry. If there's anybody out there, contact Shay. Let's put a figure of, if you give me 500 quid, I'll give you the first copy.
And I just want to say about the Yeats Night. It's an open mic night, so you can come and bring a Yeats poem to read, or you can write one about Yeats. I mean, it's all about Yeats, so it's an open mic. So if you love reciting poetry, come along, bring a Yeats poem or a piece of prose.
We've had many people reciting Yeats on this show over the years. We've had Niall, or indeed his brother Roddy.
That's right, Roddy.
I think read an Irish Airman foresees his own death. I think Shane McGowan's favourite Yeats poem was The Irish Airman.
It was indeed.
It was,
God bless him.
Before you go, John, why is poetry so important to the Irish? Is it years of oppression? Is it the fighting, or is it the beauty of the land, or is it a bit of both?
I think it's the Shanaki again, the travelling poets.
I think all cultures had a welcome for the storyteller. And Bob, that I knew, was travelled around, and he went to the rambling houses of the time, and he was always welcome. And he was a very happy man. He was the man that first told me that a man's richness is in the fewness of his needs. Yeah. And all he wanted was a bed to lie on and some food to keep him going. And of course, he was the last of the Shanakis, because radio and television had sounded the death knell of his way of life.
Radio killed the poetry.
Thank you. And
thank you, John.
John, of course, your poetry was honed at the open mic here at the ICC. You've been a regular for some years.
These were very, very enjoyable nights, and I really hope they'll go on into the future.
They will. It's so important that they do.
Save his name with a poem.
Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you so much, John Hurley. And that is the 6th of March.
6th of March, and it's Yeats. Yeah. But Yeats is a poet. Ireland's full of poets. We're now going to actually switch from Mr. Yeats to the man that followed him. Yeats was become the Protestant ascendancy, Irish Protestant ascendancy. He was involved in the Abbey Theatre, Kathleen the Houlihan, all those things. But he was, the next great poet actually came from the land, a farmer called Patrick Kavanagh. And he wrote the most famous love song of all time, Unrequited Love, Raglan Road, and it was covered by Luke Kelly. Ronnie Drew, Luke Kelly were together one night, and Patrick Kavanagh said to Luke, "Would you ever do one of my poems?" And Luke said, "Which one?" And he said, "Raglan Road." And it was born. It was born. And it's one of the great songs being covered by everybody. But we today are going to have it covered by the man you all know on the show from the Sessionists, Peter Cashin. He's going to sing Raglan Road. He's a great man from Dublin. He knows how to sing a song, and he's going to be accompanied by the extraordinary David Kelly with a little haunting flute on the side.
So now we have Philip Cashin and David Kelly, and you're about to do Raglan Road, which was first composed by Luke Kelly. You knew him.
It was composed by Kavanagh, and Kelly sang it. Yeah, he was. Luke Kelly used to live on Glencloy Road in Larkhill, and I lived on Glendun Road. So he'd come up to see his mother. He'd moved out for a while, but he'd always come and see his mother. And he'd walk up to the bus, which was outside our house, and we'd always go and say hello and get a few bob off him, because he always gave us a few shillings. Oh, Luke, he was great like that. Yeah, it was terrific. Really, really nice guy. I was about 13, 14. He was about 26, I think. So he was the poster boy of the Irish pop scene, actually, of all of them. And Dublin's were, obviously, it was like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. It was the Dubliners of the Wolf Towns. Of course, we were all Dubliners. But yeah, terrific singer, and this is the song Raglan Road. On Raglan Road of an autumn day, I saw her first and knew that her dark hair would weave a snare that I might one day rue. I saw the danger, yet I passed along the enchanted way. And I said, let grief be a fallen leaf at the dawning of the day. On Grafton Street in November, we tripped lightly along the ledge of a deep ravine where can be seen the truth of all passion's pledge. The Queen of Hearts is still making tarts, and I'm not making hay. Oh, I love too much, and by such and such is happiness thrown away. Well, I gave her the gifts of the mind, I gave her the secret sign that's known to all the artists who know the true gods of sound and stone, and word and tint without any stint. I gave her poems to say, with her own name there and her own dark hair, like the fields over fields of May. On a quiet street where old ghosts meet, I see her walking now, away from me so hurriedly, and my reason must allow that I have loved not as I should, a creature made of clay. When the angel woos, oh, the clay he'll lose, oh, his wings at the dawn of the day. When the angel woos, oh, the clay he'll lose, oh, his wings at the dawn of the day.
Absolutely fabulous. And so that was music by Luke Kelly, but lyrics by Patrick Kavanagh.